Da 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 da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes. Get those notifications out. Let people know that I've gone live. In the meantime, hi, if you've never met me, my name's Cindy, and I explore the inside and the outside, and I'm preoccupied because it's still Christmas holidays, isn't it? And I have my tree here, and I think I shall turn it on just because, well, it is the holidays, isn't it? And sometimes, well, lots of people do. Christmas is over. The next day, Boxing Day, is the day to clean it all up, box the tree out, get it up into the attic for next year, and right, carry on. And, sometimes that amazing feeling, right? That feeling of celebration that and and celebration in some form should be in our lives all the time. I try to celebrate every day. I know it's kind of it fits for my life. It fits for me. And I don't say, party hardy and right, stay up all night and be frivolous or irresponsible, but when I see that celebrate, you know it's that smile, it's that recognition of wow, right, so grateful to be here, right, grateful to have been able to accomplish that or take the load off of that, or just adding to my life, adding to that movement. And you know those are the moments when you say, well, nothing's going on, right? Nothing's going on. And yeah, today, in the bigger scope of things, maybe it wasn't a big, huge, eventful, right, moving kind of day. But those are the times that you want to take a look back. You want to go back a little bit if you need it. Sometimes, right? You're grateful. Uneventful day. Oh my goodness, I'm into an uneventful day, right? I actually had one this week. I don't know how I managed to do it, but there was a day. Well, I doing the laundry and the dishes and stuff, but I don't count that stuff. Where I actually, right? I basically just sat in my chair and just did some of the things that I like doing, like the YouTube videos and getting ready. I got passport applications. I got to renew my passport, these little projects all on my desk here that I'm trying to get done, and appreciating the ones that I did. I could have given myself a little bit of rope this month and let myself be late in a few of those overheads in my life, right? It is the holidays. It probably would be okay to let it slide, but right? I said, no, forget that. We're being responsible. I made my plans, my goal sheet is going to have to change a little bit because I think I'm going to attempt something a little bit bigger this year, right? Not ready to talk about it because once I talk about it, then I'm committed. This is how I work. This is how I get things done. Is I commit to things, and once I voice that, it's going to be. So I need a couple of days off. I need to go for a walk. I need contemplation. I need to discuss it with a few people, get some feedback, right? And see for myself if this is at all something that might be possible. I think it possibly is, and if nothing else, it's all going to get applied to something else anyway, right? My vacation in September, so why not give it a shot? We'll talk about it next week. Okay, so let's get back. We're finishing the word thoughtfulness. I'm tired. I'm going to admit that for myself, but I show up here, right? And because I did have something I really did want to finish this week off when we had this word thoughtfulness. And what an amazing week to have that word thoughtfulness, because again, with this right? I got to light up the tree. It's still the holidays, that thoughtfulness that we put into those special days. We don't always do it day to day to day to day. So when I talk a little bit about sometimes we don't see that movement in our day to day to day to day, right? That maybe we have to take a look back a little bit, just go back a little bit further to see we were where we were at, right? Whether it was 6 months, a year ago, 10 years ago, and right, and do it that way. And that way you'll be able to see the change, you'll be able to see the movement. And maybe it's not a biggest movement as you would have liked it to have been, or you expected it to have been. But, if you're hanging out with me, we do a lot of baby steps. And you know what? I'm a big believer in the baby steps. I don't think baby steps are in any way hurtful, you know, because if you're going to be a doctor, you're still going to be a doctor. You're still going to be a surgeon. You're just going to be a better one, because you just didn't rush through that learning. You just didn't rush through the test. You just didn't go in and get the answers right for that moment. You did such a good job that it's imprinted into your soul, right? There won't be no class action suit for you, right? Right? And that's what comes from being the very best in what you're doing. So, draw it right back. Thoughtfulness this week. I thought we'd put ourselves in others' shoes. I thought it was the most perfect way to tie off this week of the word thoughtfulness, because being Christmas week, New Year's week, right? It's kind of just the serendipity of getting that word to to start with, because right, this season that we're in right now is so full of of thoughtfulness, right? We don't always. Sometimes we need that special occasion. We need that birthday. We need that anniversary, right? We need that next step of achievement that we can, right, voice out and root on, right? Whether it's ourselves or other people, right? But for some reason we like to do it spurty that way, right? Everybody's busy. We're all living different lives, different lives in other places where it might not even be Christmas, but you might call it Hanukkah or one of the other holidays that are what do you call it, arranged around this season that you might celebrate, right? But putting yourself in other people's shoes and recognizing, even if it's just in the gift giving of the season, right? And to kind of feel out and put yourself in somebody's shoes and say, what would they like? What should I buy them for Christmas? Or, right? What gift could they possibly make use of? And you put yourself in their shoes as if you were that person, right? And it's easy, because if you care about that person, you should be able to do that, because caring about person when you care about somebody, you're actually getting to know them. You're getting to know what they like, what they appreciate, what they don't appreciate. So when these holidays come along and you are picking a gift, more than likely you're going to pick something that they're going to appreciate. Kind of, I'm thinking of what just popped into my head right now is my dad wasn't big on shopping. Usually, what he'd do is he'd give us kids money and we'd buy for each other, or he'd give mom money and she would buy for the kids, or right, whatever she wanted to do with that. And this one Christmas, my dad gave us, I don't know, $20 or something. Go buy your mom a present for Christmas, right? Go pick out the present. We're just little kids, like 10, 11 years old. I think I might have been. And then all my other sisters are younger than me. And so we hopped on a bus, and right at that time, you didn't need the adults to be with you to get a free ride. If you were under 10 years old, you just hopped the bus, and right, we'd go down to Stanley Park, and we were feral children. Okay, but anyway, before I lose track of the story, so we went down to Woodward's, and we specifically went to Woodward's because at Christmas time they had these mechanical Santas and all that stuff in the window, great big windows, like out of that movie Miracle on 34th Street with the trains and the moving Santa, just all the lights and everything. We'd all be with our faces pressed to the windows, but they also had a discount section in the basement, right? And my dad's $20 was going to go really, really far. And I had this bright idea that I was going to get my mother, the most amazing gown, right? Right? The most, so she could look so beautiful. My dad could take her out to a fancy restaurant or go dancing or something. And yeah, we had 10, 11-year-olds picking out this dress. Yeah. Needless to say, we're just going to bypass the whole process. That wasn't the point of the story. But the point of the story is when my mother opened up this box, we were all as kids were so proud, right? We actually went out and we bought the present. It was from Dad. And it was the most gaudy, old fashioned, something she would never, ever, ever, ever wear, right? And she did not appreciate that. Now, there was thoughtfulness in that because we, as kids, thought we did an amazing job. We were right. We made it an adventure. We took our time, made it a big project. We were all excited for her to open up her present. That thoughtfulness was there by the kids. But my mother didn't take it that way, right? Because her wants and her needs were not taken into consideration. And whether she was upset with the kids or not, right? She understood, right? Her husband should have gone out and bought the present for her. And was that unthoughtfulness? It wasn't thoughtfulness, but sometimes in not remembering the anniversaries. That's why they're big holidays. So they imprint us so we don't forget, right? You know what it's like when you miss your wedding anniversary. And I missed my wedding anniversary. I was that person. And my husband put a party on for me in presents and everything. I was totally shocked. I had no idea what was going on. And it was thoughtful. It was a thoughtful, kind thing that my husband did for me. But because I was so unfamiliar with acts of kindness, of acts of thoughtfulness, it wasn't something that was norm in my life. There was a small box, a small package of time in my life when, right, I did a miraculous makeover with my life. And of course, it brightened my spirits. And in that time, I found my husband. I lightened up like the sun. He didn't have a chance, right? But I don't know why I mentioned that because it's not really pertinent to the story. Maybe to say, in my own fault that my husband was so always considerate, so thoughtful, always remembering the holidays and everything in it. And it was strange and foreign to me. But it broke my heart in a good way every time he did it, right? I didn't remember the anniversary. I'm the wife. If anybody, I should have remembered. And he should have forgotten. I could have been the sulking wife that he didn't remember. But I was the embarrassed wife because he had all his friends there and everything. And I was just all dense, like, what's going on? There's, right? Could say it was any excuse for a party because my husband did like to have the parties, but just the thoughtfulness, the roses and the presents and the consideration and the cards, and you know, it means everything. I sent a few gifts out this year, right? It's talking about putting yourself in other people's shoes when it comes to thoughtfulness, right? Don't have a lot, but every year I try to take into consideration a few people, and people who help me in my movement and make me feel like I'm part of a community, and whether they course correct me, right? Because I need course correction too, or they just keep me company in that movement that I make. So sometimes, and I switch it up here and there, but in thoughtfulness, in out of considerations to like say thank you with no expectations. Because remember, there is no expectations attached to thoughtfulness. When you use thoughtfulness, there can never be any expectations attached to it in any way. When I say expectations, like, oh, gonna take her out for dinner tomorrow, for her birthday, because my birthday's in 2 weeks. And, she really, really knows that I really want to go to that baseball game. And those tickets are like, right? Whatever the story, you could just imagine for yourself. But to think that, you're going to do a kindness for somebody in expectation that they're going to do a kindness for you, right? There is never ever any kind of expectation that can be attached to thoughtfulness, because thoughtfulness comes out of the heart. Thoughtfulness comes from consideration, right? And you can't have any transaction, you can't have any contract with doing something like that at all. But to go back into that, I did send out a couple of parcels, few little things I sent out. But when I was putting those parcels together, I'm putting them together knowing that these people are going to get some lovely things and probably can afford to buy those lovely things themselves if they truly wanted to, right? But they appreciate and think it's thoughtful when they open up a present that somebody else put together, and they get to experience that thoughtfulness, because through each item that they pull out, it will be some kind of little attachment. It'll be a favorite candy, or a favorite book, or favorite, right? It'll be something really, oh, she remembered when I said that, or oh, I can't believe she remembers how much I like this candy. And oh, right? And it's in that thoughtfulness, and again, there's no attachment on that, right? Quite often there is, right? Because we're all only human. And when somebody does something kind for us, we like to do kind things for them. Or instead of doing kind thing for them, do a kind thing for somebody else in gratefulness to what that other person did. It kind of like pay it forward kind of idea, right? And it's just a matter of putting yourself in their shoes and thinking, what would they like? What would make them smile? What would make them feel like somebody thought of them? And that's the big one, that somebody thought of them, right? That's not necessarily that somebody cared, because sometimes these thoughtfulness come from complete strangers. And I haven't had a lot of, well, I can't say I've had a lot of thoughtfulnesses. My family has been very, very thoughtful, you know, and sometimes you have to come right out and ask, sometimes you have to beg, sometimes you dance around the subject, hint around the subject, right? That's the way I prefer to do. I prefer the kindnesses to come to me, right? I think that's the most beautiful way. I don't ask for things, ever. Very hard for me to ask for much. But when those kindnesses come across my path, right, without even me, right, expecting them, right, they're completely a surprise, or I can sense because I'm putting myself in their shoes, not as the receiver, but as the giver, right? And I get to feel how they feel in, right, being so thoughtful, right? My niece, right? She's not a rich girl. She said she was a little teeny weeny thing, not even going to school yet. She was buying little gifts for every member of the family, and it's a tradition. She's an adult now, and she still buys these little packages, and they're not much. And in fact, she's the only niece or nephew who does something like that because it's in those thoughtfulnesses that we build those connections, we build those opportunities to see the people and what they think of us, what they truly think of us, right? And lots of times, as we get to be friends or we get married and you're the husband or the wife, the kids, and they're always crying for the toys that they want. They're, at Christmas time, can I have this? For my birthday, I want this. So we have a good idea, right, of what the people in our lives appreciate, right? So, in thoughtfulness, right? Sometimes those unexpected, right? They're not asking for anything, but because you know them, right? You know how they act when they're playing their favorite video games, or they have their favorite clothes, or they're listening to their favorite music, or right, reading a favorite book, what they like. And it doesn't have to be big, right? Right? Sometimes it doesn't even have to be anything more than making somebody's favorite dinner, right? Spaghetti and meatballs, or right, or lasagna, or whatever it is. And that consideration to go, oh my goodness, right? Cabbage rolls, my absolute favorite. I was having the worst day today. It was just the worst, right? Thank you so much. And you never know how far thoughtfulness can go, how much a thoughtfulness could be used in a moment, right? In an uncomfortable moment. I lost my bank card tonight going home. I had to stop and get some cat food, and I left it in the machine at the store. And then I went to another store and I went, oh, my card. And I looked all over. I says, oh, I know I left it in that store. So, well, I'll go back to that store tomorrow and I'll see if the card's there. And if not, I'll have to make a moment to get to the bank, get the card replaced, right? And the lady at the teller just looks at me. I just said, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't take this purchase, I says. She goes, oh my goodness, you just take that so well. I says, well, it's spilt milk. The store's closed now. It's like after 9 o'clock. The store's closed. The store's closed now. And I says, it's not like the first time I've ever lost my bank card, right? This is spilt milk. This is nothing. This is nothing. Like, I'm going to stress myself out and I'm going to think it's like the end of the world because I've lost my card. But at the same time, right, it's still not card. I wish I had my bank card, right? So I can get my morning coffee, and well, I got a gift certificate so I can do that. But whatever I need that card, now I got to go through that little bit of hassle of getting that done. But I didn't beat myself up about it, right? Because there really isn't nothing to do about it. But the thoughtfulness of her to recognize the way I took the news that, oh, I lost my bank card, right? I didn't make a big deal out of it, right? But again, what can you do? What's the point of stressing yourself out? And if I had stressed myself out, rah, 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 right? And been left there as the disgruntled customer, right? They're closing their shift too. Their store's closing too. And how would that be? I know what it's like to have a bad customer right at the end of the night, right? Well, the beginning of the day, beginning of a shift is even worse because then that feeling that you get can last your whole shift, and at the same time, because you have disgruntledness in a customer, and even if it's right, it's not your fault. It's nothing that you could do, right? Had no control over sending some good cheer, even though she didn't have any control over getting my card, whether or not I was going to get my card. It was very, very nice of her to recognize the the lack of frustration I had for not having it, right? And made me kind of proud, right? And it's, oh, Cindy, yeah, maybe, right? She goes, oh my goodness, and she made a big deal about it, right? Like, oh, you lost your card. I can't believe you're taking it. What can you what can you do? But in her thoughtfulness, she gave me a moment of thoughtfulness, right? And it gave me a little bit of a smile. It gave me a little bit of good job, Cindy, and a little bit of recognition of the lessons, because we were saying sometimes you have to look further back in order to see that movement, to be able to see the lessons realized. And that was a prime example, just in the moment, that I didn't even have to look back at all. It was just right. The evidence was right there. So right. Still not happy I have to go and get the car, but what's the point, right? Nothing that you can do. So just to tie it all up with the bow, because we won't be talking about thoughtfulness again for a while, I guess, unless we hit it. And then at that point, when we do hit it again, because we've crossed out a lot of words here. That's 21 words that we 21 weeks now we've been picking these powerful words. And I really like the serendipity and the way the words are coming out, and the little breaks in between, because some words are a little bit heavier than others. And maybe it's not heavier, it's just maybe I didn't put much work in the first time that those words came across my path. And maybe in doing this is just giving me the opportunity to go through it again, just to make sure a little bit of silver polish, never, never hurt, right? So thoughtfulness this week and putting yourself in other people's shoes, sometimes you don't want to send those emails out, you don't want to write those letters, you don't want to do those chores. But if you think that somebody's going to be depending on you, and if you think, like, if you were going to do it anyway, right? And if you were even feeling not good about yourself, and you were looking for a way to feel good about yourself, right? Like the way I handled losing my bank card tonight, and then having that recognized, right? These small thoughtfulnesses that we can do, and they don't even have to cost money. They don't even It could just be a kind word, right? It just could be a kind word. You see somebody with a pretty skirt or new haircut, and you mention it. And you know my father was a big believer in schmooing. He was very good at schmooing. The ladies loved my dad. But he was always so full of compliments. And the ladies could have the blue eyeshadow and funky clothes and ponytails like this, and right, great big lipstick that's not even on the lips, it's all over the cheeks, right? And he could make that woman feel like she was the Queen of England. She was like the most beautiful person in the whole world. Now, you could say that was lying, right? And technically it was, but I would say that was a little white lie that offered up thoughtfulness to somebody, right? Who thought they looked amazing, right? Thought they looked thought they kicked butt on the makeup that day and the outfit that day, but that's their sense of style, and they have every right to feel that way. But just because somebody else doesn't appreciate the way they look, right? And if you look at it as the majority, right, to say, right, my dad could schmoo the pants off somebody and do it out of thoughtfulness, right? Just to put a smile on somebody's face. Maybe that 5 minutes earlier, that woman was walking down the sidewalk and a couple of teenagers said something mean to her or something, right? And made her feel bad about that outfit. And then my dad just said something that contradicted it 100%. My dad was a handsome man too. So any woman would be liable to pick up a compliment from my dad rather than, right, disgruntled, nasty, right? Something that comes out of somebody's mouth, right? Just like the disgruntled customer who lost their bank card. Okay, you guys, I am a bubble brain. I got to be up very early tomorrow, so I'm just going to finish my coffee. I'm not going to finish this lesson. I'm only an hour and a half into this 3 hours and 3 minute interview with Jordan Peterson. It's a Lex Fridman video, so they're having a discussion right now. And I used to be, well, I still am a fan of Jordan Peterson, but he really, I don't know, he's an instigator. Right? And I don't always think that everybody can appreciate a pot being stirred. And sometimes we walk into these rooms and the pots are being stirred, right? And when the pots are being stirred, then sometimes we get stirred. And then next thing you know, right, you never know what can happen in a disgruntled moment, right? And even in a complete sentence that somebody's just walked into halfway through. So, yeah, that excitability of Jordan Peterson, I could probably do without that. But he is a very, very smart man for sure. His lessons hit every single time. Okay, you guys, I'm babbling off. You have a great night. Have a great weekend. We will be back on Monday. If you want to join us Sunday night, we have Chatters Live on Sunday night, 7:30 Central. Everybody's welcome. Oh my goodness, Robert, dear. I didn't see you there. Did you just come in now? Merry Christmas, Robert. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to see you. You didn't join us on our Christmas Eve party. So wonderful to see you here. So if you guys want to come in and join us on Sunday night, it's Christmas Eve. I get it, right? But if you're not doing anything and you want to hang out with an amazing crew, we have an amazing crew, don't we, Robert? 7:30 Central. If not, we'll be back on Monday with a new word that I'm sure is just going to fit nicely into what the week or the next couple of weeks are going on. Oh, that was nice. How is everything going with you, Robert? How is everything going? Robert is a follower of the content that I put out on Chatters Live. He is been part of our crew for years. We missed you this Christmas Eve. I threw a shout out to you though, Robert, because I remember you saying sometimes you don't come into the comments, but sometimes you just hang out in the lives. So sometimes I say hello to you. Just the same. Oh my goodness. Then you should hop in there on Monday. Maybe the next week's word will work out just for you. This is my other show, Robert. This is Chatters. This isn't Chatters Live. Chatters Live is our Sunday night show. This is What's My Good Cheer. This is a Monday, Friday show. It's a lot of, it's a lot of powerful words that we're working on right now. And we'll be working on word number 22. My lucky word, my lucky numbers, 22. Okay, you guys, that's my good cheer. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself, Robert. Happy New Year, dear.